Hello and welcome to Ask George after day 4 of the third test between India and England from Rajkot. Now, we've watched India secure a record-breaking test win. We've seen England slump to a mammoth away defeat. So, George, you've had a bit of time to digest what you've seen today. What do you kind of make of it?
It happened very quickly when it started happening, didn't it? The thing I would want to get across is there's a group of us getting a lift in together, and at the start of the third day there was such excitement and expectation, and there was obviously a long way that England had to go, but they really did have an opportunity, and an hour or so into play that had gone, and I think it was just a reminder of how hard it is to win in India and how important it is you take your chances when you do. And some of the comments we've seen and some of the shots we've seen are also a reminder that for all the good that this regime, this management, captain and coach regime have done for English cricket in the last few months, and they've done lots good, they do need a bit of a reality check. They do need to take a deep breath and just understand that they can't live life as if it's a slogan or by slogans, and they need a little bit of rigor and professionalism and to adapt the way they're playing just a little bit.
Well, you can read all of George's reflections from this third test and the rest of the series, in fact, by subscribing to the Cricketers Digital Channel. You can do that in the video link in the video description. Now, let's get to our questions, which our readers have been submitting for our social channels using that hashtag Ask George, of course. And Jonathan Doyle is going to kick us off by asking, are England now on the wrong side of the fine margin between self-belief and self-reflection?
Well, probably. I mean, they're certainly in danger. I don't know quite what you mean by self-reflection. I mean, do you mean that they're not? I think we'll find that out in the next few days. Ben Stokes spoke very well afterwards. It's difficult to have press conferences straight after a big defeat, but he was quite honest, I thought. He looked a bit frazzled, but then it had been very hot. But he spoke quite honestly. For example, I asked him about the Joe Root shot, and he's never going to criticize Joe Root in public, but he did say, look, the logic is that Joe has been struggling against Bumrah. He wanted to sort of make him think a bit, change the field maybe. But he did, and he wasn't going to tell Joe Root how to bat because he's got 30 test centuries, all reasonable-ish. But he also said it didn't look like a test shot, interesting, and that it was the turning point. So I don't know what you read into that. I personally think that suggests that he knows exactly what happened, but he's not going to criticize his players in public, which is fine. But, in private, there wouldn't be criticism exactly, but there would be constructive conversation and an acceptance that maybe that wasn't the greatest decision to make at that time. As I say, India were a bowler down at the time. The pitch was still good. The weather was hot. England's bowlers needed a rest. There was an opportunity to just bat and not be too clever. And I think they did try to be too clever. And I think, there is an element of hubris about this side. They're a very, very good side. They're a fun side. They're a nice side. They're nice people. I wish them nothing but, success. But to hear Ben Duckett, who played a terrific innings in this test, to hear him say, yeah, it's brilliant. We seem to have inspired India to play this way. I mean, that sounded like delusion. People did play attacking cricket before this lot came along. Gordon Greenidge, Sehwag would be a fantastic example. One of the most attacking openers in history. So it is true that England are scoring at a rate that we've not seen before consistently. That's fine. They are. But the idea that they've invented attacking cricket, I mean, guys, come on now. So, this setback could be good for them. It could be a reality check. It could be a moment for them to speak honestly. And as I say again, not just live by immature slogans.
How important is Harry Brooks' absence? That's a question from Ben Tyra Gray.
Harry Brook's a very good player. He gets in the England side. But who's missing for India? Virat Kohli's not here. So there are no excuses there. And who would he have played instead of? He might have played, I mean, I think if he came back tomorrow, which I don't think he will, he would probably replace Bairstow. But, there's a few of that middle order will be looking over their shoulders. Clearly I love Ben Foakes. I made that very clear. But the job of a keeper is to score runs as well as take catches. He has to score more runs. He's averaging 18, I think. Bairstow's averaging 17. Root's averaging 12, I think. It's not good enough. So, of course, he is a loss. So is Jack Leach. But India have lost far more players, and there can be no excuses whatsoever from England.
Bob Bamber asks, after Duckett's comments about England deserving credit for other teams playing in the attacking fashion, as you alluded to, is this England team, in the media at least, in danger of becoming unlikable? I interpreted those Duckett comments a little bit like, if we can't play Bazball, we're going to talk as much as we could. It sounded like he was just sort of singing gospel rather than almost convincing himself. I don't know. I didn't take them too seriously. How about you?
It's hard to tell with Ben Duckett sometimes when he's talking whether it's tongue in cheek. It didn't particularly feel like it at the time. I was there when he said that. It didn't particularly feel like it. It felt like he was saying, yeah, Bazball's changed the world. Here we go. But yeah, are they unlikable? Come to that. I think a lot of people in the world, and no doubt a lot of people watching this, would think they crossed that bridge some time ago. But I do think that a lot of people just hate England, and they'll find a reason to do it even if it's not there. As someone who's watched a lot of England teams and interacted with them, this is a nice bunch of fellas. They're good people doing good things, a lot of fun to watch. I don't think it is unlikable. I think they've just got a bit lost. I actually think they need a bit more leadership. I think Ben Stokes gets it. I think he speaks well and bats well. But I think that the rah-rah-rah sloganing of the coach needs to be kept in check just a little bit. And I hope that, that there are some honest conversations. I don't know that there will be, but we talk to the coach tomorrow. Maybe I could report back then and tell you what he says. I hope that people don't dislike them, because there's nothing unpleasant about them. There really isn't, actually.
Background noise. Ask the next question. It's about Sarfraz Khan. How many competitive test sides with completely different personnel do we think that India could field?
Well, not that many. I think there is actually a bit of a drop-off. I mean, to talk to some of the Indian journos, they're talking about some of the same problems in Indian cricket as we talk about in English cricket, which is that once you are past, the obvious players at the side, they talk about the strength of the domestic competitions not being what it was, huge scores, who will replace this generation. But yeah, you're right that the young players look fantastic, and we, Pretty Shaw or someone could presumably come into the side and, bat very well as well. So I don't know. Is the honest answer, but the Indian journos seem to think that the resources aren't quite as deep as they once were. I mean, bearing in mind, the seam bowling options we saw last week, and it's not as if Pant won't get back into the side pretty quickly. I don't know. No doubt cricket is a massive sport in India, and there are a lot of people who can smack the ball. A lot of good batters, but don't know. There aren't that many Bumrahs and Jadejas. They're pretty special cricketers.
Does England's no blame culture help or hinder their overall improvement? That's from Richard Dawson. Don't know if it's the Richard Dawson.
I doubt it's the Richard Dawson. Well, it's the Richard. Yeah.
Well, it's yes, indeed. Yeah, ours indeed.
It won't be the England coach, I'm pretty sure. But I think it's a very good question, and I think that in all these things there's a balance. You don't want people fearing for their place. You don't want the culture to be competitive in a particularly sort of, I don't know, unhelpful way. But yeah, you also want people to take responsibility, and it does look as if they've got the balance slightly wrong. Look, I just don't think they put a high enough price on their wicket. All this stuff about, there's no criticism if we get out. Well, maybe there should be. Not getting out's a good quality in a batter. Try it. It's really good. Kane Williamson hates getting out. I like that about Kane Williamson. So I would think that while again and again, I'm going to say the same thing, that they're just listening to the same simplistic lines without any of the caveats. Anyone who lives their life by a slogan is a bit of a fool. So life is a bit more nuanced than that, isn't it? And they have to take more responsibility for their wickets. But I think that this was such a bad result that they will. As I say again, it's very rare to have an opportunity to win in India. And it's barely as if they had an opportunity. They had a glimpse of an opportunity, yeah? They had a glimpse. And they screwed it up. I mean, I haven't given enough credit to India, because at the start of day 3, India think they're down a player, a key player, and they were a bit rattled from the previous day, because they did look rattled, by the way. Duckett came at them. And yet, Rohit got them together. He got them playing calm, good cricket. And once they had their foot on England's throat, they were merciless, ruthless, marvellous. So they deserve a lot of credit for that. But I do think England opened the door to it. And I think Joe Root's first innings dismissal was the turning point of the match and maybe the series. I mean, I think I did say this yesterday. It felt like a tipping point. And that's what happens once you reach a tipping point, Things can be terribly, terribly even for a long time. But once they tip, they can move pretty fast. And that's what we saw.
Nick Hillman asks, does this prove that against the best opposition, for example, Australia in the Ashes and India here, that Bazball won't work? Maybe doesn't.
I don't even think it does quite say that. Again, I think it would be simplistic to just. So the question I asked to Ben Stokes, I mean, it might show up, might turn up somewhere. I don't think I had a microphone, so it might not. Was something along the lines of, Ben, for those of us who are sort of quite conservative, traditional, old, cautious people, you've proved us wrong, actually, quite often. Because, I've been a skeptic. I've been delighted to be proved wrong, but I have been a skeptic. And they've been proved right a lot. England's results have improved. England, from a very low base, mind, they have been terrifically entertaining, and there have been some glorious days. What it hasn't ever been is consistently good. And they've got to stop pretending that that's the case, because they haven't won a Test series since 2022, and we're in the second month of 2024. And I'm pretty confident we'll get to July without England having won a Test series since 2022. It's not very good. Now, I just think there should be some honesty. They haven't won a T20 international series since 2022 either. And they got thumped in the 50-over World Cup. So just, take a deep breath. You're not that good. You're not that good at cricket. So there's some really good things about the way they've played. And of course, they hate the term anyway. But there's some really good things about the McCullum-Stokes partnership. And I just wish that they would accept that just with a little bit of fine-tuning, just a little bit, it could be really brilliant. But, trying to hit one of the world's best ever seamers over third in the first half hour of play when you're 230 behind, it's just not smart. It's just not smart. And the people who think it is, I don't really understand, actually. The people who are defending it, come on, it was a rubbish shot. Everyone loves Joe Root. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant batter, brilliant guy. It was a terrible shot.